Before we get started, this audiobook is part of a bigger program to help JWs leave or escape the organization without setting off the spiritually weak alarm, whatever that means. If you listen and like what you hear, please thumbs up or like this audio or video. Please only comment if your real identity is protected. You can also email the author, who is not me. The address is in the digital ebook. You'll find links in the bio or description. The PIMO Playbook: How to Vanish Without a Trace by Slow Fade Up. Copyright 2026. Legal stuff, or read this before you report me to the elders. This book is a work of satire and entertainment. Any resemblance to real people or fictional entities, including but not limited to the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the governing body, kingdom halls, congregations, Bethelites, special pioneers, auxiliary pioneers, self-righteous elders, busybody brothers and sisters, publishers, or unbaptized publishers, is purely coincidental. And honestly, if you see yourself in here, that's on you, not me. All stories, characters, and events are fictionalized composites. The author makes no guarantees about results, outcomes, or divine favor. Reading this book will not necessarily help you fade successfully, win back your family, or finally understand why the governing body keeps switching everything up. The author can neither confirm nor deny that any statement or description is factual or a figment of imagination. This material should not be used as credible evidence or testimony in any federal, state, civil, or criminal court or during any judicial committee meeting. If you're offended, you may want to pray on it, take a walk, or just get over it. No JWs were harmed in the making of this book. Some feelings might have been, but that's between them and their conscience. Now, let's start fading. Though most this audiobook matches the ebook verbatim, some phrases and words have been changed slightly. I promise that everything still makes perfect sense, like the truth did when you were a staunch believer. We're going to start with a couple of PIMO tales.
I was born in and never baptized, but my parents forced me to participate until I was about 17 or 18. I remember believing everything until I was about 9 years old, when I started understanding the outside world better. That's also when I started to question everything I was being told. I couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was, but it felt very wrong and fake. I remember asking certain questions like, what happens to family members if they die and weren't JWs? Will we see them again in paradise? And I remember my mom saying that in the end, God reads people's hearts and will judge them accordingly. But I was always taught that only JWs will be in paradise. So I think that's what started me thinking it was a bunch of BS. Also, I remember asking certain questions and always being told, we can't know why Jehovah does the things he does. He has his own plan, and humans may not be advanced enough to understand. Just a bunch of different ways of saying they don't know anything for sure, but they want you to comply with their set-in-stone rules. Rules cannot be set in stone if their foundation isn't 100% accurate and steady. Even at the age of 9, I finally started to see how they picked and chose what they wanted to enforce due to what the Bible says.
Reddit user ThinBy1203.
I had spent my whole life being the exemplary young brother, pioneering at 12, ministerial servant at 18, always the dependable one. Which meant if I stepped down suddenly, the elders would smell spiritual weakness, or worse, apostate influence. So I had to move like a ghost, unseen, unsuspected, and always faithful sounding. My golden rule was simple. It's not that I won't, it's that I can't. If they sensed reluctance, I was doomed. So my story had to be, I want to keep serving, but something's wrong. First, I laid the groundwork. For 2 or 3 weeks, I played the slow burn collapse. I let myself look tired, quiet, anxious before parts and prayers. I sighed more. I told my family I felt off, like I was carrying some invisible weight I couldn't name. Even some elders got soft hints, missed gems, skipped service meetings, a confession during a shepherding call that I felt unusually stressed. Then I dropped phase 2. I think I need professional help. My family softened immediately, exactly what I needed. A week later, I returned with my fabricated diagnosis: late-onset PTSD, triggered by an old trauma I'd told them about. I said the therapist warned me to drop voluntary stressors or risk a breakdown. That part they never question. Medical liability terrifies them. I told my family I'd pray about it. Days later, I had Jehovah's answer. I needed to resign from pioneering and from being an MS. The elders pushed back, of course, but they can't override a doctor. I stayed firm, polite, meek-voiced, and immovable. And just like that, I slipped out of the role they once thought I'd die in. Leaving privileges shouldn't require espionage. Yet here we are. Reddit user, hot audience, 1947.
Introduction: The Matrix of the Kingdom Hall. Let me start by saying, I love Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm still close with a few, especially since my congregation had so many young people. From fellowshipping to family time, it really was a good era because my congregation was actually fun. I gave talks, laughed with JWs, and trudged door to door in 90-degree weather while secretly praying no one answered. I played sports with JWs, of course, enjoyed cookouts, and I went to school with them. As I got older, I partied with them, got into skirmishes, drank too much, and got disciplined with some of them when I indulged in worldly activities. Hey, I never said that I was a perfect witness, but who is? I believed that JWs had the truth, and everything in the world was under Satan's control, and that Armageddon would start in 30 seconds. So, like any good witness, I didn't question the endless congregation activities: Sunday, Watchtower study, and public talk; Monday, family Bible study; Tuesday, theocratic ministry school; Wednesday, alternate family Bible study or free night; Thursday, book study; Saturday, field service. You probably spent a good portion of your life in a similar time-wasting routine. I was a faithful witness, but everything changed after I graduated from college. Yes, you read that right. I attended and graduated from a major university. This was back in the olden days, the 1990s, long before the governing body decided to rewrite the rules. It still makes me laugh when I think about the absurdity of it all. Keep reading because I explained exactly how I managed to get additional education without a single discouraging conversation from the elders, how I pulled off a slow fade without a judicial committee or being removed, and how you can do the same. I'm sharing the gems that will help you escape the watchtower with your dignity and sanity intact. I wrote this because I love you. I'll cut straight to it because I don't respect manipulation disguised as spirituality. I strongly dislike seeing people robbed of their critical thinking, family relationships, and dreams, all under the banner of obedience to God. This book isn't here to destroy your faith. It's here to help you reclaim it, to help you separate what's real from what's rehearsed, what's divine from what's designed. And if that sounds snarky, good, because when you've been gaslit by a high-control religion, sometimes sarcasm is the only way to stay sane. Who this is not for. Let's be clear from the start. This book is not written for everyone. This is not written for the lifelong, born-in, sixth-generation Jehovah's Witness or convert who loves obeying Jehovah God's endless non-biblical rules the governing body imposes. This isn't for the JW who dutifully attends every meeting and raises their hand for every part on the theocratic ministry school like it's a spiritual audition for heaven. You, my friend, are far too busy counting your time and pioneering poverty. This information is definitely not for the blind follower who accepts every new light as if God just updated the app in their brain. You know, the ones who can't see that the governing body changes doctrine more often than Apple changes iPhone chargers. I've heard a sucker is born a minute. Exhibit A. See any Kingdom Hall meeting, minus you, of course. And finally, this is not for the rule keepers who proudly snitch on family members for missing meetings, wearing tight pants, or when Jehovah forbid, questioning why Jehovah needs a corporate trademark. If any of that describes you, you should stop reading this now. Close and trash this file. Whatever you do, don't tell anyone that you've read this, especially if you have questions about the Watchtower and governing body.
Who this is for. This is written for the free thinkers, the Google and YouTube searchers, the investigators, the questioners who sit in the back row at a Kingdom Hall and wonder, is this really the truth or just good propaganda? It's written for the ones who couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, even when everyone else seemed hypnotized by Stephen Lett's strange expressions and puppet-like movements. It's written for those who've spent years feeling guilty for wanting more education, more freedom, more individuality, more truth that actually feels true. If you've ever been told you're thinking too much, congratulations. You're exactly who this blueprint is for. You're not crazy. You're waking up. Sidebar: the flounce versus the fade. The flounce. You text your whole family, "I'm done with the cult." Translations, you've earned a lifetime of shunning and a starring role in a congregation gossip fest. The fade. You slowly become less available until one day nobody even knows when you stopped coming. Triangulations, you get to keep your dignity and your phone contacts. Sidebar ends. Leaving the Jehovah's Witness organization feels a lot like waking up from a dream. And not the cozy kind. It's more like being ripped from a perfectly curated illusion where everything made sense. Only to discover the real world is messy, uncertain, and painfully real. For years, you were told the world outside was wicked, satanic, and doomed to destruction. And yet once you step out, you realize that the so-called worldly people often act with more love, compassion, and kindness than the ones who shunned you in the name of God. You start asking questions and/or searching on Google or YouTube. Why are so many teachings revised when proven false, like in 1914, 1929, and 1975? If this is God's organization, why do they cover up abuse? See Australia Royal Commission's report and testimony of governing body member Jeffrey Jackson. Why does salvation require loyalty to a publishing corporation? What is the scriptural reasoning behind the overlapping generation teaching? Other than the faithful and discreet slave parable, what scripture references the governing body and grants it theocratic authority over anyone? If the governing body isn't infallible or inspired, why should I trust them? Hint, you shouldn't. Warning. Don't ask your elders these questions unless you want to have a conversation or judicial meeting about your beliefs and loyalty to the governing body. Those questions don't make you apostate. They make you awake. Get it?
Chapter 1. When the JW math doesn't add up. Believe me, I know what it's like when the information we were taught stops making sense. If you're questioning things, then we're kindred spirits. This is what happened to me. I was raised as one of the Jehovah's Witnesses after my mother welcomed them into our home and started studying the Bible when I was just an innocent kid. Looking back, I wish you'd done what most sane people do when witnesses knock, hide in the house and pretend no one's home. Oh well. The indoctrination starts early. Bad association spoils useful habits. All holidays and birthdays are pagan and worldly. Revelation 21:4 lives rent-free in my head, and he will wipe out every tear from your eye. Those beliefs were fed to me like spiritual baby food, sweet at first, but toxic over time. I swallowed every word, especially as a kid gasping through chronic asthma. The promise that death and disease would vanish, replaced by a paradise earth where the former things have passed away, felt like oxygen to my faith. I took to the doctrine like a crackhead to a pipe. I hit the ultimate J.W. bass rock when I was just 12. I was all in, baptized. My youth was spent in meetings, field service, assemblies, and witness gatherings. Hell, I even attended an elementary and middle school that was operated by a witness who was the principal. But as I got older, questions started creeping in. Like, if the Bible says no one knows the day or the hour, then how could the watchtowers make bold predictions about 1914, 1925, 1975, and every failed end of the world in between? Wouldn't that make them, by definition, false prophets? Matthew 7:15. That didn't sit right. Neither did the fact that the governing body, God's supposed channel on earth, was mostly old, self-proclaimed anointed men based in New York. Why would the Almighty Creator choose them as his earthly mouthpiece? And more importantly, where in the Bible does God name the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses as his channel? Oh, that's right. They think they're the faithful and discreet slave. By the time puberty hit, I was questioning more than just doctrine. World War III nearly broke out in my congregation over the beard rule. The elders were demanding or begging that I shave the small dirt patch growing on my chin. I thought about it, but Charles T. Russell, the founder of the religion, had a beard. Jesus Christ, according to Watchtower art, had a beard. Nowhere in the Bible does it say, "Thou shalt not have facial hair." So why was I expected to scrape off my God-given follicles to prove my faith? Even my father, a ministerial servant, agreed it was nonsense. He backed me up, beard and all. My dad was a lawyer, a thinker, and a reader. He valued education and critical thinking, two things the organization quietly discourages. Looking back, I realized he planted seeds of doubt long before I faded like the steam in your teapot. When I graduated high school, I was still in the truth. I decided to take a gap year to auxiliary pioneer, because that's what good JWs do when they don't know what to do with their life. After that, I planned to get my barber's license, but my dad had other ideas. He nudged me toward community college, said I should just take a few classes and see where it leads. Pops came through with the no-look pass, setting me up for a backdoor exit out of the religion. When I started community college, I had no clue what I wanted to do professionally, but by the time I graduated 3 years later, I'd found my calling. It began with a radio announcing class. I fell in love with the microphone, the equipment, and the ability to broadcast a message. Soon I was producing PSAs for the campus radio station, then working as a student assistant for the general manager, who, lucky for me, took a liking to my curiosity and drive. That experience lit the spark that would eventually become a media career. I worked as a reporter, producer, and college professor. And, unknowingly, my exit ramp from the Jehovah's Witness world. Looking back, it wasn't an opposition, it was a slow fade, smooth as the other side of the pillow. My TV radio station mentor encouraged me to go out of state to continue my broadcast studies. My dad was hesitant at first, but eventually he warmed up to the idea. The brothers? They never discouraged me from attending college. I think that my dad told them how stupid the no-college rule was, and they better not ever bring it up with me, ever. Pops wasn't removed as a ministerial servant either. Jehovah was clearly protecting him and speaking to him through the Holy Spirit long before the governing body decoded the new light. The governing body finally got the message, decades later, that attaining additional education is a personal decision. I blame the misunderstanding on a bad signal with Jehovah or no signal at all. Meanwhile, I also developed a little habit that wasn't exactly Kingdom Hall approved. I'll just implicate myself to protect my co-conspirators, but let's just say I had a thing for a sweet girl named Mary Jane. When my dad found out I did what any good Jehovah's Witness son would do, I snitched on myself. Yep, walked right up to the elders of my congregation, confessed my sin, and waited for the spiritual spanking. The result? I got put on public reproof. I was determined to remain steadfast. I attended meetings and assemblies while in college, still clinging to the truth like it was the last slice of hot spiritual pizza. I would even go out in service. Secretly, though, I was dabbling with girls, parties, and, yes, occasionally with my friend Mary Jane. You know, normal worldly activities. Somehow, before I graduated, I got my privileges back. Apparently, Jehovah is very forgiving when you're out of sight of your hometown elders. When I graduated, I didn't think to say goodbye to the brothers in my college town. I just left for home. No letter, no announcement, no farewell conversation. I wasn't planning to stop being a witness. I just didn't think about it. It just wasn't my priority. And then I realized that the religion is built on superstitions, erroneous predictions, and boogeyman stories. I imagine my publisher's record card is still sitting in that congregation's file cabinet. That was way back in 1997. Since then, I've moved multiple times across multiple cities in 3 different states, and not one single elder has ever come looking for me. After I graduated, I attended exactly 1 meeting at my original Kingdom Hall, which no longer exists, and 1 memorial in 1998. That's it. Other than that, I've had 0 unwanted JW contact. The great thing is, I still talk to most of my witness friends from back in the day. Some are disfellowshipped, some are elders, yikes, and a few are geniuses who somehow never got baptized. I love them all. It seems to make no difference to them that I no longer identify as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Though let's be honest, I'd definitely be shunned for writing what qualifies as apostate literature. Since diving into the XJW community, I've learned all the new lingo, PIMOs, POMOs, PIMIs, and realized something profound. If you're PIMO, physically in, mentally out, let's face it, you're living a lie. I get it, there are good reasons. Maybe it's family, community, fear, or financial dependency. But do you know how much of your life is slipping away? I'm no mathematician, but between meetings, field service, personal study, family worship, assemblies, conventions, and late-night guilt spirals, it adds up fast. You're basically in a full-time job without the paycheck or the benefits. Maybe you're waiting for the perfect time to walk away. Here's the truth. That perfect time doesn't exist. This manual will help you stop waiting and start fading. Quietly, strategically, safely. With humor, empathy, and a little bit of apostate flair. I explain why there's nothing bad about being an apostate a little later. There's a secret code name for this operation, a mission known as the slow fade. The code word is ghost. Master it, and you'll learn how to vanish over time like a magic trick into thin air. You'll be untouchable and unreachable while your old JW friends keep sprinting on the theocratic hamster wheel to nowhere. This mission found you. Mission Slow Fade probably started a while ago for you, even if you didn't realize it. Maybe you questioned something you didn't fully understand. Mistake. The elders will put you in your place if you ask too many questions. You quickly learn not to ask again. But that thought kept brewing, a quiet doubt that's grown too big to ignore. Doubt doesn't come all at once. It's not some Hollywood-style awakening with thunderbolts and a voice booming from heaven saying, "You've been duped." It's subtle. Creeps in during long Kingdom Hall talks where your mind drifts to anything but the watchtower. It's realizing that the worldly people you were warned about are kinder, more balanced, and a lot less judgmental than some of your congregation friends. You've seen it. Elders abusing power, pioneers living double lives, and circuit overseers denying there was ever a no-college rule. Wait, what? That's when the switch flips. You start thinking, wait a minute. If the truth isn't righteous, can it still be the truth? That thought, my friend, is the spark of liberation. Are you ready to join Mission Slow Fade? Then say the code word, GHOST, and keep reading. Chapter 2. Make a decision now. Am I in a cult? Google definition. Cult, noun. A relatively small group of people having beliefs or practices, especially relating to religion, that are regarded by others as strange or sinister, or as imposing excessive control over members. Let's get serious for a second. Ghosting isn't easy. It's not just walking away from a religion, it's walking away from a community, a lifestyle, a social network, and an entire identity you were raised to protect. But the longer you wait, the harder it becomes. Every meeting, every convention, every guilt trip reinforces the programming that keeps you small and obedient. That's not faith, that's fear management. Here's what happens when you start to detach. You regain your time. No more pretending to enjoy 90-minute Zoom meetings about the same recycled topics. Imagine what you could do with that time. Learn a skill, start a business, sleep in on Sundays. You regain your mental health. The Watchtower thrives on anxiety, guilt, and making you feel worthless. 3 things your nervous system desperately needs a break from. Once you step away, you'll notice your chest feels lighter, your thoughts clearer, and your anxiety fades faster than your publisher record. You regain your identity. You're not just a publisher, a brother, or a sister. You're a full human being with talents, humor, and potential that have been stifled under spiritual micromanagement. Leaving doesn't destroy your life. It gives it back to you. Common excuses for staying. But my family will shun me. Maybe, but staying in emotional captivity just to keep fake peace isn't love. It's hostage negotiation. What if Armageddon comes? If the governing body's batting average on predictions is any indication, you've got time. But I don't know who I'd be without the truth. That's the point. You get to find out on your own terms. Reclaiming your life. Every day you stay, you trade your autonomy for approval. You trade your curiosity for conformity. You trade your truth for the truth. Leaving isn't a rejection of God. It's a rejection of the middlemen who profit from keeping you afraid of Him. So stop waiting for a sign. This book is your sign. If you're still sitting in meetings, smiling through talks about apostates while quietly Googling how to escape this cult, then congratulations. You've already left mentally. Now let's make a real plan to escape the clutches of the Watchtower without a judicial hearing, shunning, or losing your mind.
Chapter 3. Plan your escape. The art of fading like a pro without setting off the elder alarm system. So, you clearly see the wizard or wizards behind the curtain. You know the governing body is not divinely telepathic. You've binged XJW YouTube videos like It's Your New Spiritual Food. You're mentally free, but physically trapped. Welcome to PIMO life. You're still attending meetings, nodding during talks, and smiling politely at Brother Long-Winded, while your inner monologue is screaming, "This is nonsense." You've probably realized that leaving isn't simple, because in the JW world, there's no "I'm just taking a break." There's in, out, or shunned like a leper in 33 CE. But don't worry, this book is your practical, step-by-step guide to escaping without setting off the elder alarm system. We're going to build your escape plan, stealth style. Just keep reading. You are now a double agent in the world's most tightly controlled spiritual organization. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to gradually decrease your visibility, reduce engagement, and quietly slip into civilian life. The goal isn't to storm out, it's to slowly vanish into the background like that brother who disappeared during the COVID Zoom meetings and no one ever saw again. The rules of engagement. Stop commenting. You don't need to be the encouraging comment guy anymore. Every time you raise your hand, you're volunteering your mental energy to feed a system you no longer believe in. So, instead, sit back. Nod occasionally. Look thoughtful. Maybe even take fake notes. Let Sister Super Spiritual handle the oversharing while you perfect your
I'm engaged but not too engaged face. Be conveniently busy. This is your new favorite word, schedule conflict. The work meeting ran late, card trouble. You had to help a friend move. Yes, a worldly friend. Scandalous. You're not neglecting spiritual things, you're just prioritizing your sanity. Start missing one meeting a month, then two. Before long, it'll feel completely normal to spend Thursday night watching Netflix instead of another talk about how Jehovah hates independent thinking. And if anyone asks, you'll say something like, "Work's been crazy lately," or "I've just been focusing on personal study." Translation, "I'm studying freedom, baby." Both phrases are cult-proof. They sound humble, faithful, and guilt-free, which means no elder can challenge them without looking controlling. Congratulations, you've just begun your slow fade. Build a cover story. The Watchtower has trained its followers to sniff out apostasy like bloodhounds at a heresy convention. The moment you stop smiling at the door, someone's radar starts beeping. If you vanish too fast, they'll send concerned texts, surprise visits, and maybe even a full-on shepherding mission to your doorstep. So, the goal is not to raise suspicion, it's to bore them into leaving you alone. Cults thrive on drama, and nothing terrifies a nosy elder more than someone with a mundane, unexciting life. Your job now? Build a believable, boring narrative for your fade, one that sounds so reasonable, no one dares question it. A new job. Ah yes, the classic. Nothing says responsible and spiritual than working hard to support your family. This excuse is bulletproof because in JW culture, work is only second to field service in divine approval. Just say, "I've been working late shifts lately, trying to balance everything." Suddenly, you're not spiritually weak. You're a hardworking, overburdened, humble servant of Jehovah who's just going through a busy season. Bonus, this excuse buys you months of breathing room. Just be sure not to post photos of your work-stress margaritas on Instagram. Family obligations. Few things silence prying elders faster than the word family. "My mom's been needing more help lately." Boom, conversation over. No one's going to argue with filial duty. Even the most zealous overseer will back off and say, "Well, family comes first." This excuse also works beautifully for PIMOs with kids. The kids' schedules have been so demanding lately, no one wants to debate a frazzled parent who's juggling homework, dinner, and bedtime meltdowns. Just remember to keep the story flexible and vague. You're not writing a novel, you're building plausible deniability. Health issues. This one's powerful, but use it with tact. You can't argue with someone's health, and in most congregations, the word anxiety shuts down questions faster than a microphone at the Watchtower study. Say something like, "I've been taking some time to focus on my health lately, trying to get back into balance." No one can argue your health, and it could be your mental health, which is 100% true. They'll nod solemnly, say, "We'll keep you in our prayers," and move on. Meanwhile, your real healing begins, not from illness, but from indoctrination fatigue. I'm reflecting. This one is a chef's kiss. It's just spiritual enough to sound sincere, but vague enough to mean absolutely anything. It also signals that you're being thoughtful, which the organization claims to value, even though it punishes anyone who actually thinks critically. Say it softly, with a pensive sigh. "I've just been doing some personal reflection and trying to strengthen my relationship with Jehovah." Translation, "I'm strengthening my relationship with reality." The beauty of this line is that it sounds spiritual self-care. No one can argue with it, and no one can verify it. It's the perfect conversation ender. Keep it boring. Here's the secret sauce to any good cover story. Make it dull. Cults love drama. They thrive on spiritual emergencies. The moment something exciting happens, everyone wants to get involved. So, rob them of that. If they ask how you're doing, say, just taking things one day at a time. You want to be the human equivalent of unbuttered toast, polite, unremarkable, and impossible to gossip about. Sooner or later, they'll move on to juicier prey, like Sister So-and-so's teenage son who is using his phone to look at hot girls on Instagram. Resist the temptation to explain. You'll want to tell them your version of the truth. You'll want to help open their eyes. You'll want to pour out your heart about how you've seen behind the curtain, how the governing body isn't divinely inspired, how shunning is emotional blackmail, and how you finally Googled 1992 Jehovah's Witnesses and NATO and fell down a freedom rabbit hole. They don't want your truth. They want reassurance that their world still makes sense. The moment you explain, you'll go from spiritually weak to potential apostate faster than you can say judicial committee. Verbally vomiting on your friends and family doesn't save anyone. It only signs your own social death warrant. PIMO pro tip. Freedom starts quietly, usually with one missed meeting. Meet your new favorite phrase. I'm taking things one day at a time. It's vague, it's comforting, it sounds spiritual without actually being spiritual. Say it like you're tired, but faithful. Like you've been through trials, not doctrinal awakening. When they ask follow-up questions, double down. Just trying to keep my focus on Jehovah. Boom! Conversation over. No elder can argue with that. It's the verbal equivalent of an invisibility cloak. Other phrases that work like a Jedi mind trick. Just dealing with a lot lately. Emotional, mysterious, totally safe. I'm praying on it. They'll back off. Prayer solves everything, apparently. I'm trying to simplify my schedule because you're so busy not going to meetings. I'm staying in the word privately right now. No one can call you out. It sounds holy. Remember, these are not lies. They're spiritual encryption. You're not deceiving. You're protecting your peace while navigating a high-control social structure. You're basically Jason Bourne with a Kingdom Hall background. When the elders come knocking, yes, at some point, they'll try the shepherding call. They'll ask to meet for encouragement. Translation, we need to assess your loyalty to the org before you start infecting others. Here's how to handle it. Delay. This week's crazy. Maybe next. Deflect. Appreciate it, brothers. I'm just trying to work through things personally. Disappear. Actually, something came up. Something always comes up. Every time they schedule a meeting, reschedule it. Your goal is not confrontation. It's confusion. Keep them in the fog long enough, and eventually they'll shift focus to someone else who dared to like a worldly meme on Instagram. Silence is power. Silence is your shield. Every word you don't say is a thread they can't pull on. The Watchtower machine runs on gossip and guilt. Don't feed it. You don't owe anyone your awakening. You don't owe anyone explanations, closure, or a theological debate about overlapping generations. You're not leaving because you're lost. You're leaving because you finally found yourself. Let them think what they want. The truth doesn't need defending, especially not from people who still believe independent thinking is a sin. As we wrap up this section, let's end with the two most bulletproof exit strategies, in my opinion, higher education and moving. Each one works every time, no fail. Higher education.
After decades of bashing higher education as a tool of Satan and a waste of time in a dying system, the governing body flipped the script in August of 2025. Now they're calling additional education a personal decision, and have even instructed elders to stand down on discouraging college attendance. My father says they're about 30 years late. Still, this shift creates the perfect tactical opportunity for those planning a strategic fade. This is your moment to step out of theocratic busywork and step into personal development, specialized training, or career advancement, all while maintaining total plausible deniability. It's the perfect cover story. Education is now officially neutral territory, which means, if used correctly, it becomes the ultimate shield from excessive elder scrutiny. Classes, assignments, internships, study groups all make for airtight excuses when you begin to scale back your participation. Scenarios. Brother curious.
We've missed seeing you at the meetings lately. Everything all right? Yeah, just a heavy class load this semester. Between coursework and group projects, I barely had time to eat.
Concerned elder. Are you still planning to be an auxiliary pioneer this summer? I'd love to, but my summer session is intense.
I have an internship and classes. I need to stay focused right now. Prying publisher. So, what are you studying again? It's kind of specialized. I'm doing insert subject and make it sound worldly enough to intimidate small minds. Lots of late nights and homework. The goal here isn't to lie. It's to deflect. You're learning. You're growing. You're busy. And every hour you spend building your real life is another step away from the illusion that kept you small. If anyone questions your motives, remember, they're the ones who changed the rule. You're simply following their new direction, just taking it further. The cheat code. The ultimate power play is simple. Move. Relocation is the Jehovah's Witness version of a witness protection program. You don't even need to go far. A different zip code, a new congregation territory, or even the next town over is often enough to disappear into spiritual limbo. That sweet space where nobody knows you, nobody cares, and nobody's counting your meeting comments. Think of it like pressing reset on your spiritual SIM card. Moving confuses the elder's tracking system. It's like unplugging yourself from the matrix, except instead of dodging bullets, you're dodging committee meetings. Why moving works so well? The Watchtower thrives on familiarity and control. When you move, both vanish. Elders can't guilt-trip someone they can't visit, and gossip doesn't travel when your new hall doesn't have your name. It's because, technically, brothers in your old hall have no jurisdiction. You become a ghost. Not disfellowshipped, not reproved, not even weak. Just gone. If you do it right, you'll be long gone, binge-watching documentaries about cult psychology while sipping coffee in your pajamas Saturday morning. The logistics of the perfect move. This tactic is ex-elder verified, straight from the inside. At the core of this method lies the publisher's record card, basically the Watchtower's internal tracking file for every baptized or unbaptized publisher. Here's how it normally works. When a witness moves, they're supposed to notify the congregation secretary, who then forwards their record card to the new hall. That's how the organization keeps tabs on everyone, even across cities or states. Here's how you do it instead. After you start pulling back from congregation activities, don't announce your move. Just pack up quietly and disappear. No letters, no calls. No tearful goodbyes at the Kingdom Hall. When you land in your new location, the local congregation will have no record of you at all. No name, no number, no address. In the Watchtower's world, you've effectively ceased to exist. Now you have the keys to vanishing without a trace. Pick an approach and just do it.
Case study. The 50-year fade. Mike W.'s silent exit. Mike W. grew up as a classic Bible-loving witness, the type who genuinely enjoyed Scripture but side-eyed the organization's man-made rules. His first red flag? The no facial hair rule. As a teenager, Mike couldn't understand why a beard made you unfit to serve Jehovah and the random rules that varied from congregation to congregation. Some frowned on sideburns, others allowed them but frowned on a mustache with handlebars. It felt arbitrary. Spoiler, it was. From there, the cracks only widened. As a young adult, Mike questioned everything, quietly wondering if the religion was really the truth or just a high control system dressed up in Scripture. But like so many, he did the PIMO shuffle, physically in, mentally out, because his family expected it and because the privileges, status, and structure made it easier to endure. By his late 20s, Mike no longer believed, at all. Yet he remained an active witness and eventually became a ministerial servant. Why? 2 words: family relationships. Then came a public reproof in his 30s. Many would have walked away after that. Not Mike. He kept going, not because he believed, but because fading felt impossible without losing the people he loved. And so he stayed for decades. The fade begins, slowly, quietly, strategically. When Mike finally decided he was done, he didn't write letters, announce "I'm leaving," or give the elders the satisfaction of a committee hearing. He simply stopped playing the game.
Step 1. He removed his name from the meeting parts and talk list. No parts means fewer eyes on you. Step 2. He told the brothers he was too stressed to continue his responsibilities. Translation: I'm done, don't ask. Step 3. He officially stepped down as a ministerial servant in December 2024. Step 4. January 2025. His last meeting ever. Step 5. He moved, changed his address, phone number, and email, and gave no forwarding information to the congregation. No letter, no explanation, no farewell monologue, no "I still love Jehovah but not the org." Nothing. He just walked away. Life after leaving. Today, Mike says he's living his best life. Free, peaceful, no more pretending, no more spiritual performance art. The best part? His wife and 2 kids followed his lead and also left. All it took was strategic silence, a slow fade, 0 confessions, 0 explanations, and not giving the elders anything to follow up on.
Chapter 4. Emotional Damage. So you know how to deal with the shepherding texts, the phone calls, and you're equipped with the "sorry, I'm just slammed with work" excuses like a teenager dodging chores. And for a brief moment, you'll feel free until it hits. That silence. That slow creeping realization that some of the people you've loved your entire life have quietly started pretending you don't exist. Welcome to the emotional aftershock of leaving a high-control group, otherwise known as the shun tsunami, when the cold shoulder becomes a personality trait. Even if you fade perfectly, no apostate rants, no dramatic exits, some folks will still cut you off. It starts subtly. They stop liking your posts, stop replying to your texts, and stop making eye contact at the grocery store. They'll tell themselves, "He's just busy," but deep down, they're scanning for signs of spiritual decay like it's an episode of CSI Congregation Edition. Here's the truth. It's not your fault. You didn't become toxic. You became a thinking person. And in an environment that worships conformity, independent thought is radioactive. They're not rejecting you. They're obeying policy. You became a walking reminder that they could leave too, and that terrifies them. So they don't distance themselves from you because they hate you. They do it because your courage exposed their cage. Grief isn't just for funerals. It's for friendships that die in slow motion. You'll miss the group chats, the potlucks, the after-meeting coffee runs. You'll even miss Sister Overzealous and her backhanded encouragement. That ache in your chest? It's not weakness, it's withdrawal. You're detoxing from a community that controlled every corner of your social life. It's like getting out of a long, one-sided relationship where your partner gaslighted you into thinking you couldn't survive without them. Spoiler alert, you can. You'll cry. You'll rage. You'll ugly laugh at old theocratic ministry school notes where you practiced fake enthusiasm about reaching more householders. And that laughter? That's healing in disguise. It's your sense of humor clawing its way out of captivity. You'll swing between emotions faster than a governing body policy reversal. One day you'll feel empowered, like a phoenix rising from watchtower ashes. The next day, you'll feel guilt, like you just kicked a puppy named Jehovah's organization. You might even catch yourself thinking, maybe I'm wrong, maybe they're right. That's not regression. That's trauma logic. When you spend decades equating obedience with survival, doubt feels like sin. So when that voice whispers, "You're being deceived by Satan," remember, that's just the programming glitching. It's the residual software of your indoctrination trying to reboot. Hit cancel update. How to cope without losing your mind. Let yourself grieve. Don't bottle it up. Cry, journal, scream, sing, Freedom by George Michael, whatever works. Find safe people. XJWs online are your people now. Reddit,
Facebook groups, Discord servers, you'll find more empathy there than 1,000 circuit overseer visits combined. Avoid trauma bonding with the wrong crowd. Not every XJW has healed. Some are still angry and toxic. Find the ones building, not just bashing. Start therapy if you can. A therapist who understands religious trauma can help you separate you from indoctrination. Celebrate tiny wins. First birthday party, first holiday, first Sunday morning where you sleep in guilt-free. You're rewriting your life. That's worth celebrating. You're not broken, you're deprogramming. Sometimes you'll miss it. The structure, the community, the illusion of certainty. That's okay. You were conditioned to crave those things. You can build them again, this time without shame or surveillance. And when you feel that pang of loneliness, remember, you didn't lose real relationships. You lost conditional ones. It'll take time to know who you are outside of Jehovah's Witness. But little by little, you'll discover joy that isn't attached to approval. You'll learn to laugh again, not just politely in the back row, but loud, uncontrollable, soul-deep laughter. You'll rediscover curiosity. You'll read books you never could before. You'll finally understand what free time actually means. And one day, when you look back at the Kingdom Hall and realize you didn't just leave a religion, you escaped a system that taught you to shrink. Now, you're expanding. Redefine faithful on your terms. The Watchtower hijacked your conscience, your identity, and your idea of faith. Part of your escape plan is taking those back. You can still believe in God, just not through a corporation's rulebook. You can still be spiritual, just not under surveillance. You can still love truth, even when it leads you out. Leaving the Watchtower isn't losing faith. It's reclaiming it. The slow fade is brave. There's no single right way to leave. Some people make a dramatic exit. Others just drift quietly away. What matters is that you protect your peace while reclaiming your autonomy. You're not weak for fading. You're strategic. You're not deceptive. You're surviving. And one day, when you wake up on a Sunday morning with coffee in hand, sunlight streaming through the window, and no guilt gnawing at your chest, you'll know you made it.
Chapter 5. Specialized Knowledge. If you can memorize 1,000 scriptures for field service, you can learn Excel, SEO, or HVAC repair. Ah yes, the last days of the last days. That golden catchphrase that's been echoing through Kingdom Hall since before Stephen Lett's crooked grimace proclaimed it at the start of the pandemic. He was quoting an April 1st, 1967 Watchtower article. We were told college was a waste of time because Jehovah's New World was just around the corner, any day now. Just not yet. But soon. Probably. Maybe. While normal people were out there building careers and buying houses, we were told to pioneer, clean toilets at the Kingdom Hall, and prepare for paradise, not paychecks, because apparently higher education was a trap of Satan that could turn us into proud independent thinkers. You know, those terrifying creatures who might question a doctrine or two. But wait! Fast forward to the 2025 governing body update where the same organization that publicly sneered at college for decades now said it's A-OK. Wasn't it always? How convenient. Now that half the membership is broke, burnout, and babysitting aging elders on Social Security, suddenly the light got brighter. Translation: we might have ruined your future, but hey, if you still have energy left, go get that degree, champ. You can almost hear the elders choking on holy water, trying to figure out how to explain the biblical justification of this one. 1 minute, a university is Satan's snare. Next, it's just a personal matter. So here's the truth bomb. The bad news? Yeah, your best years might have been spent rejecting scholarships while waiting for Armageddon. The good news? You're never too old to learn something new, especially when you've already survived a doomsday cult's PR department. This chapter is your crash course in building independence through specialized knowledge, the kind that puts money in your pocket instead of hours on a time slip. The importance of specialized knowledge. Let's be blunt. Spiritual knowledge won't pay rent, but specialized knowledge will. For a complete discussion on the benefits of specialized knowledge, read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Remember, Jehovah won't strike you down because the book isn't published by the Watchtower. All those hours you spent perfecting the art of the magazine placement, those were unpaid internships for the world's most controlling publishing company. Specialized knowledge, however, is currency. It's what separates the financially free from the perpetually waiting on Jehovah to provide. When you learn marketable skills, tech, trades, design, management, anything that builds value, you're no longer begging for jobs, you're choosing opportunities. You stop being a volunteer worker bee and start becoming a professional with leverage. And once you experience that first paycheck that doesn't involve theocratic blessings, you'll realize money doesn't make you worldly, it makes you free. College, trades, or certificates. Let's destroy one of the biggest lies you were taught. Higher education leads to spiritual ruin. Reality check, it leads to rent payments, healthcare, and options. You don't need a PhD in apostasy to understand that learning is not the devil's tool, it's your escape hatch. College, four-year degree. If you've got the time, bandwidth, and budget, college can be a powerful reboot. Focus on practical degrees that actually lead to stable jobs, not theology of the governing body studies. Tech, AI, IT, cybersecurity, coding, data analytics. Business, marketing, accounting, entrepreneurship. Psychology or counseling. Great for XJWs who want to help others recover. And don't fall for the too late for school myth. People earn degrees at 40, 50, even 60. You're not late, you're just starting at the right time. The main thing to consider is the ROI of a four-year or longer degree. Will the education and compensation put you in a better financial position or bury you in debt? Trades. Let's be real. Most of us left the Watchtower with a spotless service record and absolutely no clue how to make a living. Publisher, pioneer, and territory overseer look impressive on a theocratic resume, but try putting that on a LinkedIn profile. Spoiler, HR doesn't care how many hours you logged at the door, unless you were selling solar panels, vacuums, or cookies. But don't panic. You don't need a degree from Satan's university to make a solid living. The trades, plumbing, HVAC, electrical work, welding, construction, auto repair, carpentry, are where real money and real freedom live. These are recession-proof, people-powered jobs that pay you to learn. In most trades, it takes about 4 to 6 years to move from apprentice to journeyman to full-blown master, someone who actually knows stuff and gets paid accordingly. But hey, if you keep going to meetings, the only thing you'd be mastering is Kingdom Melody number 45 and the art of pretending to take notes during the Watchtower study. Certificates. Short on time or cash? Online certifications are your best friend. Digital marketing? Learn to run ads, manage social media, and get paid by actual businesses, not the Watchtower Society. UX design. Design user-friendly apps and websites. Project management. Great for former elders or pioneers who love structure and spreadsheets. Most of these programs take 3 to 6 months and can double your earning potential faster than a circuit assembly guilt trip. Fast cash options, aka the Fade Fund. While you're transitioning, you might need quick income streams to survive without running back to your old spiritual family. Here's how to build your Fade Fund, your stash of no-contact cash. Gig work. Uber, DoorDash, Instacart, no meetings, no elders, no dress code. You set your own hours, and nobody asks if your territory card is current. Temp agencies. Temporary agencies can land you office gigs, warehouse shifts, or customer service jobs while you plan your long-term career. Think of it as spiritual pioneering, but for your wallet. Job search basics. Rebranding the PIMO resume. Your resume might look thin on worldly experience, but trust me, you've got skills. You're not a publisher, you're a community outreach specialist. Let's translate your theocratic past into employable language. JW skill, public talks, real-world equivalent, public speaking or presentation skills. JW skill, organizing assemblies, real-world equivalent, event planning or logistics. JW skill, field service, real-world equivalent, sales or customer engagement. JW skill, Literature management. Real-world equivalent, inventory control or administration. JW skill, handling a microphone. Real-world equivalent, AV tech or production support. See how it works? Turn every privilege into work experience. Interviewing. Always show up 15 minutes early to a job interview. Make sure you research the company and be familiar with the main product or service. Practice confidence. Make eye contact and don't forget to ask questions. You've been public speaking since you were 12 years old. Use that. Show curiosity, honesty, and eagerness to learn. Just skip the "I'm waiting on Jehovah" part. Follow-up emails. After interviews, send a simple handwritten thank you note to stand out. Keep it professional. Thank you for your time. I appreciated learning more about the role and how I can contribute to your team. You'd be shocked how far basic courtesy goes, especially in a world where most people don't follow up at all. When all else fails, get help. Sometimes you just need a professional push. Resume writers. They'll help polish your work history into something that looks less elder-approved and more CEO-ready. Career or job centers. They'll offer free job coaching, interview prep, and even training programs. A great resource if you need to jumpstart your search. You've been deprogrammed from self-sufficiency. Now you're learning how to thrive.
Chapter 6. Fix Stinking Thinking. Idea. The hardest part of leaving isn't walking out the Kingdom Hall door. It's evicting the governing body from your head. So, you're standing out as one of our top agents. You stopped going to meetings, you've deleted JW Library, maybe even twice because that icon looked too judgmental, and you're finally sleeping in on Saturday mornings. Congrats. You're free. Ish. But let's be real. Even outside the hall, the indoctrination lingers like cheap cologne after a convention. The guilt, the paranoia, the inner voice that whispers, "Jehovah's watching." No, Bob, that's not Holy Spirit. That's anxiety. This chapter is your mental detox, a toolkit for scrubbing out decades of fear, shame, and mental gymnastics. Think of it as reprogramming your spiritual hard drive. But this time, you're the one holding the keyboard. The real battle is between your ears. The real challenge isn't finding work or friends, it's believing you deserve them. You were conditioned to think worldly success is evil, independent thinking is rebellion, and self-love is pride. Nope, those are just the side effects of control. You're not broken, you were programmed. But guess what? Every program has a reset button. Stop feeling guilty for wanting money. Money isn't evil, it's electricity. You can use it to power your freedom or to burn yourself out. You were taught that success was selfish and ambition was satanic. Meanwhile, the organization built a real estate empire and trademarked spiritual trademarked buzzwords. You're not greedy for wanting to pay rent without panic. You're not materialistic for wanting a decent car that starts every morning. You're not worldly, you're awake. Replace "wait on Jehovah" with "I can do it." You've spent years waiting. For Jehovah, for paradise, for a sign, for a better life that never came. Spoiler alert, you were the miracle you were waiting for. Now waiting turns into working. Working on healing, on learning, on building a life that you control. Because the new spiritual truth is, faith without therapy is dead. You're not pioneering, you're prospering. Old you, 70 hours a month in service, tracking placements like a holy salesman. New you, 70 hours building a business, a skill, or a side hustle that actually pays. See the difference? You're still pioneering, just in the real world this time. And instead of counting hours, you're counting wins. Each small victory, landing a client, cooking dinner without guilt, saying no without apologizing, is a field service report for your soul. Thought detox exercises. Your mental rewiring routine. Step 1. Catch yourself in a guilt loop. Every time you hear that inner bad conscience voice, pause and ask,
Is this me talking, or is it a 60-year-old elder living rent-free in my head? If it's the elder, evict him. No judicial hearing necessary. Step 2. Replace I shouldn't with I can. I shouldn't hang out with non-believers turns into I can have healthy, diverse friendships. I shouldn't celebrate birthdays turns into I can celebrate my existence. I shouldn't want more turns into I can want everything that brings me joy. Celebrate small victories. Did you apply for a job? Talk to a therapist. Go a whole week without feeling like Armageddon is around the corner. That's not small. That's massive. Celebrate every win, no matter how tiny. You're literally reprogramming decades of mental obedience. Reward yourself. Light a candle. Watch Netflix without guilt. Say, I survived a high-control group. I can handle Monday. Redefining apostate. Ah, yes, apostate. The dirtiest word in the JW dictionary. Right up there with the Trinity and evolution. Let's break it down, shall we? The actual definition, according to the real world. Apostate. Noun. A person who leaves or renounces a religious or political belief or principle. That's it. Not demon worshiper. Not spiritual poison spreader. Not Satan's personal PR team. Just someone who changed their mind. You know, the same thing that everyone does when they realize something no longer makes sense. The JW definition, according to fear-based propaganda, apostate, noun. Someone who turns their back on Jehovah is under Satan's influence and now wants to deceive innocent Jehovah Witnesses like a roaring lion seeking to devour someone. Notice the difference? One definition comes from a dictionary. The other comes from decades of propaganda slides and grainy watchtower art where apostates have creepy smiles and suspicious laptops. Here's the truth. You're not evil for leaving a belief system. You're brave. You didn't betray God. You betrayed control. And trust me, Jehovah, Source, God, or whatever name you use for the divine, does not hate you for wanting truth that actually aligns with your soul. If God is love, then questioning, exploring, and growing are not rebellion, they're acts of reverence. Take off the witness glasses. When you're raised in the organization, you see the world through a very specific filter. It's like those 3D glasses from the 80s. Everything looks distorted, dramatic, and a little bit terrifying. Without realizing it, you might still be interpreting your life through that lens. A bad day means Jehovah's testing me. Success feels suspicious. People outside the organization are worldly instead of just people. Take the glasses off. See the world as it is, not as the Watchtower framed it. People aren't worldly. They're human. Diverse, flawed, kind, curious, messy, spiritual, creative. They're not trying to corrupt you. They're just living their lives without a field service timer running in the background. God doesn't hate you. Don't ever forget that God's love is unconditional. If your version of God would punish you for thinking critically, laughing too loud, or celebrating your own birthday, maybe that's not God. Maybe that's indoctrination in a trench coat. The real God, the one who created galaxies, sunsets, and sarcasm, isn't keeping score of your meeting attendance. He's cheering for you as you learn to live free, love deeply, and think for yourself.
Chapter 7. Leap. Freedom isn't a single moment. It's realizing you haven't checked jw.org in 6 months. So, you've made it this far. Congratulations. You've probably reread the first few chapters 5 times, cleared your browser history again, and whispered, "Am I really doing this?" to yourself more than once. Good. That means it's working.
You're not crazy. You're finally starting to do you. And now, hopefully, you're ready to start fading away into glorious, peaceful, JW-free obscurity. Success won't come from drama or declarations. It'll come from strategy, thoughtful planning, imperfect execution, and probably a few oops texts to your old congregation group chat that you'll delete immediately after. The Ghost Code. Mission, slow fade. Recap. 1. Make the decision to leave. Every successful fade begins with a moment of brutal honesty. You finally admit to yourself, I'm done pretending. That single thought is the crack that lets the light in. There's no need to submit a letter to the elders. Your real resignation is written every time you choose peace over control. Leaving isn't rebellion, it's self-respect. 2. Plan your escape. This isn't a jailbreak, it's more like a magic trick. Poof, now you're a publisher. Now you're a person. That means mastering the fade. Slow, subtle, strategic. You'll skip a few meetings here, forget a few reports there. You'll suddenly be busy with work, school, or you just up and move. You'll fade so cleanly they'll assume you were raptured, gone like the wind. 3. Prepare emotionally. You're leaving behind a life, a belief system, maybe even your family. That's not small stuff. Expect emotional turbulence, guilt, doubt, even a panic attack when you hear a Kingdom melody at Walmart. But those feelings, they're detox symptoms. You're not losing your faith, you're losing your fear. As you grieve, remember, it's okay to miss the community. You just don't miss the control. 4. Gain specialized knowledge. Freedom costs money, and self-reliance is your ticket. Now's the time to trade hours in field service for hours learning how to actually survive. Learn a trade, take a class, get a certificate, start gig work, whatever helps you build a life outside the Kingdom Hall bubble. Because nothing says apostate success story like having benefits, PTO, and health insurance. 5. Fix your thinking. You can't build a new life with an old mind. The hardest part of leaving isn't finding work, it's believing you deserve a good life without the governing body's permission slip. It's time to rewire your thoughts. People aren't worldly, they're just people. Money isn't evil, poverty isn't holy. Questioning authority isn't rebellion, it's intelligence. Take off those witness glasses, see the world as it is, not as you were told to fear it. This is a process, not a sprint. You don't escape a mental prison overnight. For some, it takes months. For others, years. But every little step counts. Every skipped meeting, every new thought, every time you laugh at a meme that would have gotten you marked as bad association. One day, you'll realize you're free. Not because you slammed the Kingdom Hall doors, but because you no longer feel the need to open them. No more fake smiles at meetings where everyone pretends to be spiritually strong. No more panic attacks because a brother saw you at Applebee's with worldly coworkers. No more mindless repetition of the same Kingdom melodies that sound like hymns for sleep paralysis. You're not leaving Jehovah, you're leaving control, disguised as devotion. The real escape is psychological. When you stop showing up, the world doesn't end. Lightning doesn't strike. Angels don't descend with a judicial committee form. The real battle is in your head, untangling fear from faith, shame from morality, guilt from responsibility. Expect grief. Expect anger. Expect to question everything. That's how you heal.
Chapter 8. A Fresh Start. Welcome to the real world. It's weird, messy, and absolutely worth it. Congratulations. You've executed your slow fade, navigated guilt like a pro, and survived decades of high-control indoctrination. You're no longer a JW in good standing, and spoiler alert, it feels amazing. But here's the catch. Leaving the Kingdom Hall is one thing. Learning to live as a fully functional, guilt-free human being is another. The curriculum is called Your Life, and the only mandatory reading is what you want to learn. Pick a hobby or 7. For years, your hobbies were carefully curated by the organization. Knock on doors, attend assemblies, memorize Watchtower articles. Now, the sky's the limit. Pick something purely for you. Yes, you. Not for Jehovah, not for the congregation, not for your spiritual health. Painting, drawing, or making TikToks about your old life. Bonus if they're ironically funny. Dancing in your living room like no one is judging, because they aren't. Hiking, biking, or just walking your dog while pretending you're in a nature documentary narrated by David Attenborough. Video games, crafting, podcasting, gardening, collecting crazy socks. Whatever brings joy without judgment. Hobbies aren't just fun. They're proof that life can be messy and joyful without an elder's clipboard. Redefine your faith, or don't. One of the hardest parts of leaving is figuring out what you actually believe, or if you believe in anything at all. Here's the kicker. There's no pressure. Seriously, the old, "you're apostate, you're spiritually doomed" soundtrack, muted forever. Research. Explore religions, philosophy, or even secular wisdom. Read, listen, question. Curiosity is your new superpower. Meditate or take a yoga class. Quiet your mind. Stretch your body. Discover that sitting cross-legged and breathing doesn't require a robe or a committee's approval. Take a mental break. Don't feel obligated to define your beliefs immediately. Some days, the best spiritual practice is doing nothing but existing. Healing from decades of high-control programming takes time. Take one step at a time. Eat the donut. Say no without apologizing. Laugh at memes about your old life. Your new reality will sneak up on you, and when it does, it's glorious. Celebrate holidays and milestones without guilt. Birthdays, anniversaries, Halloween, Christmas, 4th of July. Suddenly, all these pagan activities look fun. Surprise! They were never dangerous. You just weren't allowed to enjoy them. Throw yourself a birthday party. Yes, cake is allowed. Candles are encouraged. Celebrate friends' weddings, graduations, or promotions without secretly calculating how worldly it is. Treat anniversaries, first paychecks, and small wins like mini holidays. You survived. Reward yourself. Holidays and milestones are no longer spiritual traps. They're markers of life lived on your terms. Build friendships outside the hall. You may have lost some friends to the program, some to shunning, and some to your own slow fade. That's normal. Now it's time to meet people who don't have clipboards, calculators, or spiritual police badges. Reach out to coworkers, classmates, or neighbors. Humans are great once you realize most aren't plotting Armageddon. Join clubs, online communities, or local groups, even the quirky ones. XJWs come to mind. Yes, knitting, board games, or astrology are allowed. Remember, friendships outside the hall are messy, imperfect, and glorious. People will not judge you for questioning God or skipping meetings. Some will even laugh at your JW stories. Bonus points. Freedom isn't storming out of the hall mid-talk, though that'd be iconic. It's quiet. It's slow. It's steady. It's realizing you can think for yourself, and that's the most spiritual act of all. You're not falling away. You're walking home. Healing from a high-control group is not a weekend retreat. It's more like hiking a mountain in flip-flops, awkward, slow, and occasionally painful, but breathtaking when you reach the top. As my dad says, you didn't come this far to only come this far. fade or disassociate? Do you ghost the governing body or send a breakup letter? If you've made it this far, you're probably weighing your next big move. Do you quietly fade away into sweet, peaceful XJW nothingness, or do you go out with a bold, mic drop, Dear Elders letter telling them exactly where to stick their watchtower? Both paths lead to freedom, but they come with very different consequences. Let's break it down, JW style, a field service comparison chart. Option 1, the slow fade. You don't need to resign from a cult, you just stop showing up. What is it? The fade is the slow, graceful art of ghosting the organization. No letters, no confessions, no public spectacle. You just quietly stop attending, stop commenting, stop turning in field service. You become the human equivalent of a return visit that never answers the door. If you make the right moves, no one will have a way to contact you. Pros of fading. 1. Minimal fallout. You can keep contact with JW family and friends, for a while anyway. They may side-eye you, but you're still technically in good standing, just inactive. 2. Emotional breathing room. You can process at your own pace, no drama, no meetings with 3 elders pretending to be therapists. 3. Maximum control. You choose the timeline, you control what people know. 4. The perfect cover. To the congregation, you're just busy. To yourself, you're reborn. Cons of fading. 1. The awkward limbo. You're free, but not officially. People might still invite you to conventions or text you scriptures. 2. The emotional drain. You'll still censor yourself around JWs. Every text from a concerned elder can trigger anxiety. 3. The long game. It can take years for people to realize you're gone for good. The watchtower doesn't unsubscribe you easily. 4. Always one visit away. The elders may still drop by for shepherding calls. Pro tip, a do not disturb sign works miracles. Option 2, writing a disassociation letter. It's not me, it's you. Actually, it's definitely you. What is it? The disassociation letter is your formal resignation. You write to the elders or the branch if you're feeling spicy, declare that you're done, and bam, you're out. It's the organizational equivalent of unfriending everyone at once. Pros of disassociating. 1. Clean break. You're officially out. No ambiguity. No elder visits. You can start healing immediately. 2. Empowerment. It's cathartic to say, I'm done being controlled. It's a reclaiming of agency, your first official act of spiritual adulthood. 3. No more pretending. You don't have to tiptoe around doctrine or lie about being busy. You can celebrate holidays in peace. 4. The hard reset. You'll lose people, yes, but you'll gain yourself, and that's worth every awkward shun. Cons of disassociating. 1. Instant shunning. Friends, family, even that one elder who low-key liked you, gone. It's brutal and fast. 2. Emotional whiplash. You'll probably grieve for the community before you feel the freedom. It's like breaking up with your entire extended family. 3. Possible gossip. Your name might appear in a Kingdom Hall announcement. So-and-so is no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Translation, we don't trust them anymore. 4. Burned bridges. There's no going back. Once you write that letter, your JW life is officially dead and buried, which might be freeing, but it's final. The choice is yours, but if you've made a decision not to play the JW game, why play? Just take it one step at a time. Watch a rated R movie without guilt, Have a happy hour drink on a Friday. Watch JT's and Lady C's latest XJW Critical Thinker YouTube ret without a worry in the world. The next thing you know, freedom is your new normal.
Chapter 9. Forgiveness, your secret superpower. Forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve freedom. Let's face it, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society has a long history of missteps, false end-of-world predictions, arbitrary rules, covering up abuse, and deciding what's biblical as if the Bible were a menu you could rewrite each week. And maybe, just maybe, some of the brothers and sisters you knew weren't saints either. Some judged you unfairly, some snitched, some enforced rules with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer, and yes, some were total a-holes. Now that you've untangled yourself from the cultish web of control, you have a choice. Do you stew in anger, bitterness, and resentment, letting them keep power over your emotional life? Or do you take back your power and forgive, not for them, but for yourself? Why forgiveness matters. Forgiveness is not about letting someone off the hook, pretending abuse, manipulation, or nonsense didn't happen, going back to meetings. Forgiveness is about reclaiming your freedom. It's about saying, I will not let your actions or the organization's twisted rules control my happiness anymore. When you forgive, you release mental and emotional shackles. You stop replaying old hurts like a broken record. You reclaim energy that was trapped in anger and fear. Think of it as emotional self-defense. You're not saying their behavior was okay. You're saying your life is too valuable to let bitterness rule it. Practice forgiveness. Acknowledge the wrongs, recognize the lies, the manipulation, the false guilt, and the absurd doctrines. Own your feelings. Anger, grief, frustration, and even laughter at how ridiculous some rules were are all valid. Decide to forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Release the need for closure. You don't need an apology or a ritual to move on. Your liberation is self-granted. Redirect your energy. Focus on your life, your dreams, your hobbies, your freedom. Forward-thinking freedom. Leaving the Watchtower isn't just stepping away from meetings and field service. It's claiming your mind, your time, and your life. Yes, it can be lonely at first. Yes, it can be scary. But here's the truth. There are people outside who will celebrate your growth instead of scolding it. There are communities where your questions are encouraged, not shunned. There's a world full of experiences, knowledge, and joy that doesn't come with a spiritual fine print. You have permission to live a life that isn't dictated by fear, false prophecy, or arbitrary rules. You get to explore, fail, succeed, and thrive. And one day, you'll look back, maybe chuckle at your old notes from theocratic ministry school, maybe cry a little, maybe shake your head and say, I survived the Kingdom Hall, and now I'm free. Forgiveness is the cherry on top of your Liberation Sunday. It's the secret ingredient that makes life outside the Watchtower sweeter than you ever imagined. You're not just a PIMO fading out. You're a fully conscious, fully alive human being ready to climb a world full of choices, mistakes, joy, and freedom. It's extraordinary. Mission Slow Fade Debrief. It's been a long, grueling mission, one that started long before you even knew you were on it. The programming began the moment your parents handed you that eerie, bright gold storybook with the red letters. The one that promised paradise if you stayed obedient, and nightmares if you didn't. You were trained to obey, to suppress questions, to ignore your attraction to other people, to fear the outside world. Every meeting, every door knock, every worldly avoidance reinforced the lie that your worth came from obedience. But somewhere along the way, the veil started to lift. Maybe it was a late-night scroll through Reddit. Maybe it was a quiet doubt that refused to die. Or maybe it was the simple realization that the truth shouldn't fear a little research. Deep down,
You knew something was off. That small voice inside wouldn't stop whispering, "This isn't God's organization." And then you found the ghost code, an unauthorized dossier for the spiritually conflicted. Silly, snarky, but brutally honest. A covert ops playbook for PIMOs everywhere. You learned how to jam their conversation inquiries, stall their shepherding calls, and fade like a shadow in the night. You began to pull away, missed a few meetings, let your return visits go cold, stopped pretending to care about the next circuit assembly. You didn't need a dramatic exit, just a quiet reclaiming of your time, your mind, your life. Eventually, you moved away for a clean slate. It felt strange at first, freeing, but unfamiliar. The silence was deafening, until it wasn't. You filled it with new voices, new laughter, new people who didn't care what you believed, just that you were real. You joined a gym, started taking care of your body, enrolled in a community college. Maybe you're eyeing cybersecurity or IT, something where logic, not doctrine, runs the show. You're learning to build systems that actually make sense. And sure, freedom is messier than expected. Bills don't pay themselves, holidays feel awkward at first, and birthdays are a weird mix of joy and guilt at first, but each day gets lighter. You start to forgive yourself for believing, for staying too long, for surviving the only way you knew how. You stop saying worldly. You start saying people. And that's the real awakening, realizing that the world isn't out to get you. It's been waiting for you. You even found a place in your heart to forgive your former elders who are chasing the next Satan-influenced wrongdoer. Mission complete. You've officially finished Mission Slow Fade with the help of the Ghost Code. Your new life is in motion, unprogrammed, unfiltered, and unapologetically yours. If only you could have a pet tiger. Oh, well, you'll settle for a kitty cat instead. Life is good, Agent. The former things have indeed passed away. Turns out the brothers made one accurate prediction after all. Cheers. Transmission terminated. Thanks for reading, and yes, Slow Fada isn't my government name. I made it up. Let's be honest, I have zero interest in getting a cease and desist from any well-dressed watchtower lawyers clutching briefcases and Bibles. This is satire, not sedition. A tongue-in-cheek survival guide for the awake, but still inside. If any of this helped you laugh harder or question a little deeper, mission accomplished. Even if you're still in the truth, wink, I'm glad you found your way here. Happy ducking, dodging, and deleting elder voicemails. If you'd like to support the author or download your personal copy of this ebook or audiobook, visit the link in this post or bio. Either way, thanks for listening. I'm off to meditate and smoke a fatty with my girl, Mary Jane.